Oh, hey guys. All right, so now I'm going to improvise here on another subject. I wanted to talk about algorithms and algorithmic manipulations. So this video is for entertainment and education purposes only. Any and everything I say could be wrong. Do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Okay, so when I first started using YouTube, it was like 2014 or something, because I've been so disenchanted with all this internet shit that I gave up on it. It's so dumb that I just don't care. So I never really investigated YouTube, because I figured YouTube is like Facebook and all this other dumb shit, right? That the only good that YouTube is for is if I wanted to look up a video on Dave Lombardo, like watch Dave Lombardo shred on a drum kit. That's all YouTube was good for. And, whatever, who cares, right? But then I discovered YouTube in 2014, late 2014, right as it was just starting to begin the process of aborting itself. So of course I only caught the tail end of YouTube, because of course YouTube is aborting itself, right? Why wouldn't it be? Are you surprised? Were you surprised? So, but anyways, but YouTube was interesting when I discovered it, because it was feeding, like, my algorithms were, the algorithm function was sound. Like if I watched some videos, like say I watched a video and I liked it, so I watched the whole thing and it was a 2-hour video. Well, then the algorithm, it was not a manipulated algorithm. It was a functioning algorithm that would feed me, a handful of other videos that were like that one. And so then I'd be like, okay, and then the next one would play, and it was like, wow, yeah, here's another good video, wow. And then I would look at whatever other videos were coming up in my algorithm, and I'd be like, oh, this one looks really interesting, and I'd click on that, and then the algorithm, it would refine the algorithm. It's like, oh, you like this, and then it would bring videos. Okay, so the algorithm functioned because it wasn't manipulated. It was functioning the way it's supposed to. And this is what made YouTube so great. Okay? So hear me out. Now there's so much good shit on YouTube. It's like, whoa. So I'm like, getting all this feed coming in, and I'm like, okay, keep it coming, right? So, but then the adpocalypse started to take place. Next thing you know, ads, and then all these channels are selling out. They want the ads on their channel so they can monetize their channel. And this was all part of aborting YouTube, was just to provide, oh, you can sell out if you want. All these channels, you guys can sell out now. That was all by design to implode all of YouTube. And all these people, they didn't care because they just wanted to sell out. And so that's how YouTube aborted itself, by allowing the option of channels to just sell out. And so then YouTube aborted itself, and I got to watch that in real time, though. I got to watch YouTube abort itself in real time, and it was amazing. It's like, what happened? I just barely got on here. I was just starting to get that, like, wow, this is actually cool. Then the adpocalypse is injected, and then I'm watching it in real time, commit suicide. Well, okay. And then that was the end of YouTube, So I got maybe a year of what YouTube was before the abortion. But like, check it out. So if YouTube hadn't aborted itself, and I became more familiar with YouTube, I know what would have happened is I would have started finding channels like mine. And then the algorithm would start to conform to what I want. Because I would see a channel like mine, I'd be like, I like that channel, right? And so then it would start feeding other channels, and then I'd be like, okay, let me check out this one. Oh yeah, I like that one. And it would be all just everyday people channels like mine. That would be all I would want to listen to. I wouldn't want any of this other stuff. I just want channels like mine where some crazy dude, random dude, just turns on the camera and starts talking shit. And so then the algorithm, then I would accumulate like all these everyday people's voices. Right? And so it would create an aggregate. So through the process of this process, I would build up an aggregate of all these everyday voices like mine, and I wouldn't even pay attention to any of the other shit. And YouTube wouldn't even waste my time trying to put in my algorithm all this other stuff. It would just keep feeding me an aggregate of all these channels just like mine, where it's not the hyped up Richie from Boston channel. No, it's just some and then I'd have a fucking this massive aggregate of all these channels like mine, and I would just watch them. That'd be all I would watch. And see, when YouTube aborted itself, it corrupted any potential for someone like me to do that, to build up an aggregate of everyday voices. Because I don't want to hear what the internet influencers have to say. I want to hear what everyday people have to say. And I want to hear an aggregate. I want my list of subscribed channels to be just channels like mine. But they corrupted the whole algorithm process to where it stopped. All it did was start feeding me all this garbage. And I'm like, why is YouTube feeding me this garbage? Well, that's because YouTube was committing suicide. It was aborting itself. And that was part of the abortion process. Whereas if that hadn't happened, I would have built up this massive aggregate of all these small channels like mine, and those would be the ones I would listen to. I wouldn't pay any attention, like who's Richie. I wouldn't even know who Richie from Boston is. I'd be like, who's Richie from Boston? And all these others, who are these people? I don't watch any of that shit. I don't even know who you're talking about. You know what I mean? And that's how it was. Like Richie from Boston started showing up in my algorithm. I'm like, who the fuck is this? What is this shit, right? Who are these fucking... And they sucked. I'm like, why is YouTube feeding me all this shit all of a sudden? YouTube was feeding me all this great stuff. Now all of a sudden, and now there's commercials and all this shit, all this commercialized crap, you know? And, YouTube just became just like Facebook. And all this other garbage. It's all just garbage. And, but yeah. So, I can't just watch channels like mine. Because everything is algorithmically manipulated now. Any and all channels that are just some everyday person that turns on the camera with the format like mine, they're all shadow banned and buried under layers and layers of Richie from Boston's and Stu Peters and Crow Houses and all these piles and piles of all these sold out, commercialized, fake news fucking shills. And so you'll never find just everyday people channels. And it's all algorithmically manipulated. Like BitChute is obvious. The only functioning tabs on BitChute is the fucking popular tab and the trending tab. That's it. Unless you like this Richie from Boston garbage. I mean, if you just like all this fucking over sensationalized fucking idiotic garbage like Richie from Boston, well then you'll love BitChute, because that's all it is. That's all there is in popular and trending, is all this garbage. But if you want to find an everyday channel, just like an everyday person who's not an internet influencer like Richie from Boston, you're never going to find them, because that is exactly how BitChute is designed, is to algorithmically demote any and all everyday voices like mine. You'll never find them. And it's the same with YouTube, you know? But there was a time where YouTube wasn't like that, where if I found an everyday channel like mine on YouTube and I started watching it, the algorithm would start feeding me other channels like that. And then I would watch that one, and then YouTube would feed me even more of everyday channels like that. And I mean, within 3 or 4 days, I'd have like an accumulation of fucking 100 channels that are like mine, where it's just some everyday person. And then that's all I would watch. And then YouTube would feed me more. And then it would grow from 100 or 200 to like 500 and 1,000. And then I would have this massive aggregate of everyday voices. But instead, this is how controlled the internet is. The internet is as controlled as mainstream media, if not more. And all you get is all these internet influencers like Stu Peters, Richie from Boston, you know, all the usual suspects, Corbett Report. You can go down the list. They're all the same. None of them are just everyday people who just turn on their cell phone and just talk about everyday stuff, like an everyday person's point of view, not Corbett Report. Corbett Report isn't an everyday person. He's a fucking internet influencer. All these guys, you go down the list, Richie from Boston is not an everyday person. He's an internet influencer. He puts up a GoFundMe and within a month he's got $30,000 in it. That's not an everyday person. Can't you understand? How is it that these people, nobody understands? See, because nobody cares about everyday people's voices anymore. All anybody cares about are internet influencers' voices. And how is that any different from mainstream media? It's not. On mainstream media, all you care about is what Don Lemon has to say, and these famous Hollyweirdos have to say. The mainstream media never features any everyday people, because everyday people are the stupid people that need to be, brainwashed by the TV. But the internet's the same. Why would anybody want to listen to these influencers like Richie from Boston and all these other ones, TrueStream Media, Stu Peters, Dustin Nema, all the regular suspects over and over? Nobody fucking cares. I want to hear everyday people voices, not people like Richie from Boston, who always has to do is set up a GoFundMe and within a month he gets $30,000. Your everyday person doesn't have that experience in life. Why can't I just have an algorithm that feeds me everyday people voices? Because the system doesn't want everyday people to have a voice. But see, this has been going on for thousands of years, where the everyday people's voices are suppressed and censored because all they want you to hear is what Richie from Boston has to say, and Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson and Corbett Report. It's so insane how people don't see how the internet is exactly identical to mainstream media. It's so insane how the masses cannot see this. Where can I go to find just everyday people's voice? Nowhere except for out in the real world. On the internet? Nope, you're never going to find it. On mainstream media? Nope, never going to find it. And I guess everybody likes that. Everybody likes that that the everyday people don't have a voice on the internet. Everybody loves this. They love it. They beg for more. They're constantly begging and pleading for more. Please, I want to hear my idol. Richie from Boston is my idol. I pray all night to hear from Richie from Boston again. Or whoever, all these fucking fraud snake oil salesmen, fucking just fucking greasy slime balls, dude. Oh, please feed me more greasy slime balls who wanna con me out of my money. Oh, please bring me more. You know, nobody wants to hear from everyday voices. But then BitChute champions itself. It's the free speech platform where all the internet influencers are free to say whatever they want. You know. And I gotta go.